You're listening to the Mastermind Parenting Podcast with Randy Rubenstein, episode 56. Well, hi, guys. Welcome to the podcast this week. I have an interesting topic today, especially for all you listeners who have a strong-willed kiddo, which I know that's a lot of you. I have parents that describe their strong-willed kiddos to me every single day. Like, I hear lots of interchangeable scenarios about violent 4, 8, or 14-year-olds who have super aggressive and even violent meltdowns. And always there's a little something the parent says or a way of alluding to the belief that they think that their kid is different. Like, I've never seen anything even close to the severity of their child's anger. Like, they go there and then quickly they'll go, but I mean, it's not like this all the time, just some of the time. And so it's almost like a talking out of both sides of their mouth. And it's interesting to me, right? It's very interesting to me because I think that it's always a sign where I know there's more to it than what they're telling me. And I know there's a lot of shame that's deep within the parent, where they're kind of going to a place where there's blame, right? So what they're shameful about, like deep down, because wherever there's blame, I know there's shame. So it's like, yeah, my kid's different. Oh, but trust me, you haven't seen this. I mean, they're not like this all the time. Like, that's why whenever there's shame involved, it's like we talk out of both sides of our mouth. We say a little bit of something that might be some truth, but then the same time we say something that negates it out of the other side of our mouth. And it's a lot of mixed, confusing messages. So I always know there's more to the story than what the parent is actually telling me. And so I think it's that with this situation where it's like, but wait, you haven't seen my kid. I mean, trust me, they're not like that all the time, but really you haven't seen my kid. But I mean, they're, at school, they're perfect. It's just when they come home, it's not for anyone else but us, but whoa, can it be bad? Oh my gosh. And you should see her with her younger siblings. Like, so there's a lot of this dance of talking out of both sides of the mouth. And deep down, I know that parent, because look, I've been there, I've lived it. That parent is beating themselves up a little bit that it's gotten this out of control. And it's painful to admit that, right? Like, you're the parent. You're the one who's supposed to be in charge. You're the one who's setting the tone for the household. So when the behavior has become violent and aggressive and everyone's walking on eggshells and there's a lot of tension, ultimately we're like, something's clearly out of control here, and clearly I'm not doing it right. And it's painful to admit that to ourselves. Even when we think it deep down, we don't want to hear that spoken out loud. Because especially in our culture loves to play the blame game, loves it. So the parent that worries that deep down they're to blame, even though most people don't admit this, right, out loud, or even to yourself, because we live in this blame-filled culture, the blame thing, it's really destructive, you guys, and it's so easy for us to blame ourselves deep down. It's really unfortunate because the blame also often gets transferred to the kid because the parent can't bear to admit that their child's anger is intensifying due to ineffective parenting. Really, no one wants to admit that. First thing that most of us do, we're sending them to this resource and that resource. I've met up with parents who've tried so many different resources and therapists and strategies and things. And look, I love a lot of those resources. But as I say to everyone, the absolute first place that you start is at home. That's where they are the majority of the time. That's the only place you truly have control, is the way you're managing the situation. If what you're doing, the results are lots of tension, lots of eggshells, lots of unhappiness, then we got to find more effective strategies. That's always the first line of defense. That's where we begin. So the parent begins to believe, because they don't want to look within. They don't think that it's the parenting part of the equation. So they think their kid's immune to parenting strategies. Their kid's different. That's what you convince yourself. And I don't think if you're listening to a parenting podcast, then obviously you're the kind of person that is looking for strategies, that's proactively wanting to fill your brain with new ideas and new strategies, and you're willing to dig in and do the work. So it's just, if you find yourself going to that blame game, if you find yourself going to but I think my kid's different, I just want to invite you to look at something that's way more productive. Like, it's so much more productive to have the courage to roll up your sleeves and say, something's going on with my kid and there's something to figure out, because all behavior is communication. Mastermind parenting pillar, all behavior is communication. So when our kids are acting a certain way, we have to say to ourselves, time to get curious, because everything is figure outable. Everything's figure outable. And a kid that's melting down with intense anger so frequently that the other family members walk on eggshells, that child is requesting support. And they're requesting that support through their behavior rather than words. They're basically saying, please help me figure out why I'm feeling so out of control on the inside of my body. Because as Dr. Ross Green says, kids do well if they can. So that angry little tyrant isn't simply acting the way they feel and screaming for help. They're just simply acting the way they feel and screaming for help to feel better. And they want to develop better coping skills to regulate their emotions. But it literally feels like a runaway train in their body. They would express it versus acting it out if they knew how. But kids act out their emotions. They act on the outside the way they feel on the inside. This is part of human development. They don't have the verbal skills yet. They don't have the development yet to be like, I'm feeling really, like, we have to teach them those skills, how to put words to their emotions and how to understand and to sense what they're feeling in their body. So that's the deal. It feels like a runaway train in their body. It feels terrible. And they're trying to let us know, help me, help me, help me. And that everything's figure outable. I actually want to give credit to a woman by the name of Marie Forleo. She says, everything is figure outable. And this is a term that she's coined. She's just kind of a good guy in the coaching world and somebody that I really respect. And I think she's actually writing a book, Everything's Figure Outable. But I love that term because it's like I say it to my kids, it drives them crazy. When they are like, oh no, won't work. I'm like, dead end. And that's my message constantly is everything is figure outable. There are no dead ends. We can always find a solution. Always. We've got to be willing to calmly get together and to dig in and look for solutions. Everything is figure outable. So I'm here to tell you guys that your child isn't beyond help and learning new strategies like I teach in Mastermind Parenting. I promise you that empathy will help you productively communicate and investigate what's really going on for your kid. And pack leadership helps kids that frequently do this dictator dance, these strong-willed ones, and hold everyone hostage, to feel more grounded and to feel like they can finally take a deep breath. And this is what helps them to trust the adults and allow us to be more, to be more supportive to them. They lean on us when they're lacking this state of regulation. And when they lean on us and we're able to work with them, then ultimately they become more cooperative and they stop turning everything into a freaking power struggle, because you guys know how exhausting this is. So I'm here to tell you that your kid isn't that special. I mean, they're extraordinary, they're exceptional, they're delicious, but they aren't a special case when it comes to parenting. I developed Mastermind Parenting for strong-willed kids like yours. Because as Marie Forleo says, everything's figure outable, and I figured out that empathy combined with pack leadership, the backbone of my method, Mastermind Parenting, is how we not only reach but transform these kids, these strong-willed kids, into strong-minded, solution-oriented leaders. That's what I've got for you guys today. Have a great week.